Imagine standing in a grocery aisle in late 2019. You have a $100 bill in your hand and you feel a sense of quiet command. You know exactly what that paper can command. You know its weight. Now, fast forward to today, 2026. You're standing in that same aisle, and that same $100 feels like it's made of vapor. It's moving through your fingers with a speed that defies the logic of your upbringing. You finally hit that legendary six-figure milestone, the number your parents told you was the finish line. But as you look at your bank balance, a cold question starts to echo in the back of your mind. If I've finally made it, why does my life still feel like a series of compromises? Why am I still checking the price of eggs when I'm supposedly in the top 10% of earners? This isn't just a personal failure of budgeting, and it isn't just inflation in the way the news explains it. It is a fundamental decoupling of the nominal value of your work and the functional reality of your survival. To understand why $100,000 in 2026 feels like $40,000 in 2019, we have to look past the top-line consumer price index and examine the systemic shifts in the cost of basic dignity, the premium on stability, and the mathematical decay of the middle-class dream. The psychological weight of this shift is rooted in what economists call money illusion, a cognitive bias where we focus on the face value of money rather than its purchasing power. We are conditioned by 30 years of media, education, and parental advice to view six figures as the ultimate safety net, the point where the struggle ends and the true building of wealth begins. However, the 2026 reality is that the floor of the middle class has been raised so significantly that the first $60,000 of that income are often spoken for before they even hit your bank account. When we analyze the core pillars of a standard life, housing, transport, nutrition, and healthcare, we see that these sectors haven't just followed standard inflation, they've experienced a concentrated surge that disproportionately affects those trying to maintain a professional standard of living. In 2019, $40,000 salary was a tight but manageable salary for a single person in many mid-sized cities, providing a life of basic dignity. Today, that same dignity requires $100,000 because the entry price for the exact same neighborhood, the exact same caloric intake, and the exact same level of insurance has decoupled from the average wage growth. Have you ever wondered why, despite the raises and the promotions, your fun money hasn't actually grown? It's because the system has essentially taxed your success before you could even taste it. When we break down the mechanics of this decay, we see the brutal impact of compound price increases across the last 7 years. If we take a standard housing cost in 2019 and overlay the reality of 2026 interest rates and property valuations, the median carry for a median home has essentially doubled, consuming a massive portion of that six-figure salary that would have previously gone toward discretionary spending or investments. In 2019, a $40,000 earner might have spent 35% of their take-home pay on rent. In 2026, the $100,000 earner is often spending that same 35% just to live in the exact same square footage, leaving the rest of their wealthy salary to be nibbled away by utility costs that have climbed 40% and a car market where the average monthly payment has crossed the $700 mark. The math reveals that after taxes, insurance, and the basic cost of being a professional in 2026, the surplus, the actual money that makes you feel rich, is nearly identical to what the lower earner had left over in the pre-pandemic era. We are all navigating a 2026 economy using a 2019 map. We see $100,000 and our brain registers rich, but our checking account registers survival. This creates a state of permanent low-level anxiety. You ask yourself, is everyone else faking it? Am I the only one who feels like the math doesn't add up anymore? This systemic zoom-out shows us that the very definition of a milestone is moving faster than most people can save. We are living through a period where the traditional markers of success are being repriced in real time. The tragedy of the 2026 six-figure earner is the aspiration gap, where you have the credentials and the income of the upper middle class, but your daily choices are still dictated by the same scarcity that haunted the lower middle class of the previous decade. You ask yourself, when does it get easier? Is there a number where the pressure finally lets go? For most, the answer is no, because they're chasing a ghost. They are trying to buy a 2019 lifestyle with 2026 dollars. The only way out isn't to earn more, it's to undergo a radical identity shift. You have to stop being a salary earner and start being a capital architect. You have to realize that in this new era, 100K isn't wealth, it's high-velocity throughput. It's money that is just passing through your hands on its way to someone else's assets. Consider the pavement princess phenomenon, those $80,000 trucks parked in suburban driveways that signify a desperate attempt to maintain the visual of the 20th century dream. When a starter home requires a $100,000 down payment, the old milestones are no longer goals, they are traps. They are relics of an era that ended while we were busy working. The math of 2026 tells us that the middle-class floor is now the most expensive place to live because it requires the most maintenance of status without the benefit of true asset ownership. If you find yourself wondering why the numbers don't feel like they used to, it's because you're paying a premium just to stay in the game. You are paying the privilege of working a job that demands a six-figure lifestyle without providing six-figure freedom. Ultimately, accepting that 100,000 is the new 40,000 isn't about being pessimistic, it's about being mathematically honest. It requires us to abandon the ego associated with the number and focus entirely on the margin. If the system has decided that the entry price to a stable life has doubled, then our strategies for defense must also double in sophistication. We must look at our net worth not as a static number, but as a ratio of liquid survival. How many months of this 2026 reality can you sustain if the faucet turns off tomorrow? That is the only question that matters. We close this chapter not by mourning the lost power of the dollar, but by recalibrating our expectations. True financial peace in 2026 doesn't come from hitting the old milestones, but from understanding the new mechanics of the game and refusing to let a nominal salary define your sense of security in a world that has fundamentally changed its price list. It's time to stop playing a game that was designed for a world that no longer exists. Once you see the trap, you can finally start building the exit.